So, Brad.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, first and foremost?
I'm good. Just drinking a beer on a Saturday.
Okay. Well, I hope you're sitting down. I see that you're sitting down. So, because you're doing better than Les Miles. Let me tell you why.
I mean, we won as many football games as he did. I did anyway.
Well,
I coached as many winning football games as he did last year.
You make a good argument. But he just lost his offensive coordinator this past week over in Lawrence, Kansas. And normally you would think, oh, okay, well, some mid-major school hired him as their head coach. Another program picked him up as their OC. Well, that did happen. The problem is that it was Middle Tennessee State that poached their offensive coordinator to be their offensive coordinator.
Sounds like the dude got an upgrade.
You know, Early, sometimes them football boosters will provide your family with a car or even house if you keep nice and quiet about it. They're gonna do what now?
Welcome to the place where if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying is a way of life.
Just keep it down home, cuz.
Where degenerate gamblers can congregate in peace.
Money, yeah. Money, yeah.
Where screaming at 20-year-old kids on TV is just another Saturday.
Every fiber in your bone, and you take it and you beat the piss out of them. I'm talking about beat the piss out of them. Let's go whip their ass. Let's go.
Where game days don't end until the Rainbow Warriors say so.
It hits the upright. Oh my God! It hits the left upright. It hits the left upright.
They are the bagmen that Danny Sheridan never found.
I went to him with a strong-ass offer.
And it all comes to you with a splash of bourbon on the side. Woo! This is the Friends of the Program podcast.
Hey, everybody, what's happening? It's another episode of the Friends of the Program podcast. I'm Brad. He's Drew, as we welcome you in to talk a little Auburn sports this week, like we always like to do. So glad to have you guys along. Remember, you can always follow us at FOT Podcast on Twitter. Same for Instagram at FOT Podcast. Find us on YouTube. See our pretty faces while we do this at Friends of the Program if you follow us there. And then, of course, you can always like and subscribe via all of your favorite, downloadable platforms for podcast as I burp on the air with my beer over here. So go find us however you like. As we talk right now, and we're, of course, recorded, just to give you an idea of what's happening, Auburn and Baylor are finishing up their basketball game right now. We're recording on Saturday afternoon because we do have a guest this week. We're going to go deep into Auburn recruiting with our friend Nick Redfoot from College and Magnolia here in just a few minutes. But we may have Auburn our plus 14.5. And Baylor is currently up by 13 with 1:32 to go. So we're going to live talk about this as Baylor is going to take down Auburn. Expected. Auburn wasn't really likely to go in and beat Baylor, the undefeated number 2 team in the country on the road. But we're going to talk about what's happening right now when it comes to the spread. And we'll get deep on the Mizzou game earlier this week as Auburn was able to beat a ranked Missouri team. We'll get into that here in just a minute. But before we do, Drew, I'm drinking beer today, just going with a sour cherry stout for an afternoon. I've been handicapping horses, as you know, I'm going to the track tomorrow, which is why we're recording early on Saturday. What are you up to, my friend?
Pretty much all day. It's just been getting my stuff in order so that I can enjoy my Sunday. There's no football. There are really no sports tomorrow to speak of. So I really would like to just enjoy tomorrow. So today has been cleaning and clothes and getting everything ready to restart my week. But it also is a rare day.
Okay.
So that's what I am enjoying tonight and today. So.
It saddens me that you say there's no sports tomorrow because traditionally tomorrow is one of my favorite Sundays of the year.
Yeah.
It's Royal Rumble Day.
It is Royal Rumble Day.
And you and I and other people like to do a drawing and we gamble on the Rumble and it's a great time, but I just don't give a damn this year because the product's been terrible.
No.
So, so I'm choosing ponies tomorrow.
Yeah, it is a sad day because to bring everybody behind the curtain, if you will,
we've been doing this.
For over a decade. Our fandom spans an embarrassing amount of time.
But I'm talking about the Rumble gambling.
Oh, yes.
The Rumble gambling's been a decade.
Yeah, with the Royal Draft. as I like to deem it. Last year we inducted some new people in, but the product is literally, I can't tell you the last time I watched Monday Night Raw or a complete pay-per-view. I don't think I've ever watched SmackDown. But no, I'm all in on AEW. So I'm excited for Revolution. That's coming up, I guess, at the beginning of March now.
Oh yeah, they backed it up to March, which is weird.
They moved it around because of boxing and then MMA, and now it's on a Sunday. So yeah, it's oh god.
Oh no, Baylor just got up by 16. They're now covering.
Left Auburn. Just put it in the hoop. That's all for you to do.
So I don't know. While we're on the subject of Baylor and covering a spread in a basketball game, did you see the beat? Oh, we're back covering again. We're down 14. All right, 36 seconds to go. Did you see the beat that happened a couple of days ago in the Baylor-Kansas game? Just off topic.
My gosh. Do you mean
so? If you didn't see this, folks, Baylor was an 8.5-point favorite at home against Kansas. There's 2 seconds left in the game.
Oh,
and some dude from Kansas gets the ball from 40 feet away and just chunks it up, banks it in, covers the spread by 0.5 point.
Yep.
And I was looking at Twitter, and just so many people had posted their bets and go, that shot cost me thousands of dollars on a parlay, or just hundreds of dollars on a parlay.
Yep.
One of the worst beats you'll ever see in your life.
No, and I know that everybody kind of like everybody watches certain things, and we all try to just watch ESPN for the live action coverage, and we really don't watch anything else. Scott Van Pelt had a great segment. I don't know if he still does.
The bad beats section.
The bad beats section of his show is, that is appointment television.
The one where they show because you know me, I love my ponies. Where they showed the horse just completely running off to the wrong direction when he was coming around the final turn, and then decided that he was done with the race. He was in the lead twice. Yeah. He did it twice. He was in the lead coming around the final turn into the final stretch to win the race. And then literally just veered off to the right and was done. He's like, I don't need to run this last furlong and a half.
Yeah, no.
It's good. By the way, Auburn now down 12 with 20 seconds to go. As long as Baylor doesn't hit a 3 here, we should be in good cover territory.
Yeah, this is fine cover territory. I'm fine if Auburn fouls. I'm fine if Auburn fouls here.
Well, so there are some that got it at 14 this morning. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, but I'm talking about, I only care about me and my wife. As I told my wife, I care about everybody else in the world. I care about her, this dog, and me, first and foremost. Everybody else we can take care of. But I'm getting mine first.
All right. So let's talk about earlier this week on happier notes when Auburn did win a basketball game at home against a ranked Missouri team. And it's funny, Auburn wins that game by 6. The headlines across America, and I actually got into a Twitter war with a couple of people on this. Was Auburn upsets Missouri. That wasn't an upset. When the team favored to win by Vegas wins the basketball game, it's not an upset by definition.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of like CBS. I just pulled up CBS so I could get the box score and everything. Cooper lifts Auburn to 88-82 win over number 12 Missouri. That's perfect.
That's fine. That's fine. But I think it was Bleacher Report college basketball was Auburn upsets Missouri. Our reporter in Birmingham, she responded back. She's like, they're ranked. I'm like, I don't care if they're ranked. They weren't the betting favorite. And the term upset literally comes from a horse race.
Yeah,
that beat a 1-to-1 shot.
Yeah. No, it's definitely it's a home win against a ranked opponent for Auburn. It's according to the rankings, it's an upset, but according to Vegas, that's what was supposed to happen.
Hold on, Drew. Play by play. Baylor's got the ball. They're dribbling out. Sharif still playing little defense. 7 seconds to go. 6-5. Baylor going to dribble it out. They won't shoot. Auburn covers! Cha-ching! Money, everybody.
Money in the pocket. That's what I'm talking about. Auburn.
Back to the Mizzou game.
Back to the Missouri. The Auburn win over Missouri. Side note here, just on this as well. I use a certain app. I want them to sponsor us, so I won't use that name because hashtag no free rides. I use a particular sports book here in Tennessee, and according to their website, they are aware that their system is a partial disruption. Well, that partial disruption meant that I couldn't cash out.
You're glad now.
20. Yeah, you just lost money because of your terrible server. Welcome.
Your betting app just Robin Hooded you.
Yeah. I finally made money back.
Auburn is your stonk. To the moon!
To the moon.
Sorry. All right. Let's talk about this this Mizzou game, though, because we're all over the damn place right now.
Yes.
All right. So Auburn does win at home against Mizzou. It got a little testy there for Auburn at the beginning of the second half, which, if you were playing live odds, was a great thing because Auburn went into the half with the lead. So I took Auburn -2 for a first half line. So Auburn had to be -2 in the first half. That missed layup by Mizzou at the end of the half covered that with Auburn up 4. Come out, Mizzou takes the lead early in the second half. And actually
up Auburn on the money line.
And so did I. Auburn ended up getting plus odds at the money line. I think I got plus 125 at one point.
Yep.
And hit that when they won. But I mean, the story of the game, and we keep talking about it. It's Sharif, man. 28 points. But it wasn't even that he scored 28. It was how he scored 28.
Yeah.
Because 18 of 21 from the free throw line from Sharif Cooper in that ball game. He wasn't lighting it up from the field, but he was dominating by getting Mizzou into foul trouble and getting himself to the line. And then when he got to the line, he converted his shots.
It's crazy to me because every time I watch Sharif, I'm more and more convinced that he's coming back next year.
I think a game like Baylor today shows he needs to come back, actually.
And that's what I mean. Like in the Missouri game in the first half, I went, he's just not ready to go. Like he's got the tools. And it's so weird because I thought College Game Day did a great job this morning of illustrating first and foremost, what a great coach Bruce Pearl is. Auburn is by far the youngest team in America. They're now 10-8 as we stand here with a really nice cover. Just throwing that back out there. Today against the number 2 team in the country. Just take that, Las Vegas. But I think Fran Fraschilla said it earlier in the broadcast on Saturday as well. This team, if they can get everybody to come back, this team could win it all next year. And I think he's absolutely right. I think that the talent that between Cooper and Thor and Stretch, Flanagan, you add in that recruiting class that's going to come in, and we'll talk to Nick in a little bit about just what Auburn's got coming in as far as a basketball recruiting class, as well as the football signing class that's coming up on Wednesday.
Yeah, and we hit the basketball thing last week in recruiting. There's only 2 recruits coming for basketball next year, and there's a reason. We don't have any damn seniors.
Yeah,
like everybody's young. Everybody's coming back. Or should come back anyway, we hope. And I think that's what's interesting when you talk about this team next year. 4 theoretically can flex out to the 3 next year. So I know we got into this conversation last week. Drew's like, I don't know what the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is. If you don't know, for whatever reason, the 1 is the point guard, the 2 is the shooting guard, the 3 is the small forward, the 4 is the power forward, the 5 is the center. So as we talk, that'll help you out.
Those 2.
You've got the 1 locked down.
Mm-hmm.
The 1's going to be Sharif Cooper.
Yeah.
Okay. You've got the 2 locked down with Powell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now the 3 is where it gets interesting because Thor is amazingly talented, but so is Flanagan.
Yeah.
And Flanagan is a hybrid 2-3 type player.
He is.
So what you could see is actually Flanagan play a hybrid 2-3, Thor play a 4, where he kind of been playing, and then the 5-star freshmen come in and play a 4-5. So you actually don't have a true 5, but you play a couple of power forwards. You're still a 6'10" across the line down low. It's not going to hurt you. I think that's what you may end up getting towards next year. And then you have a bench to play with that are 4 or 5 deep as well. And that's when you think about this Final Four team from 2019, it's not just everybody, Bryce and Jared, all those guys they got the hype, right? Okay. Chuma got the hype. People forget that team was deep. that team could go 9-10 deep. And that it was never a let up. And that's what is being built for next year. So I'm super excited for next season. And I think you're getting glimpses, right? Even today, that first half, we didn't play well against Baylor in the first half. We shot terribly. Missed free throws, missed threes, wide open. Only down 5.
Yeah, only down 5. Should have been down 3, in my opinion, maybe 2 if you can get stretched to hit one of those free throws at the end. I think Baylor would also say that they didn't play their best game in the first.
No, they definitely did not.
But again, while I'll say Auburn didn't play their best in the first half, I'm also going to go, well, they were playing pretty good defense. Just like I can say to Baylor, you were playing a pretty good defense because Auburn was playing defense today.
For the first time in a while.
Yeah. And they locked down. I saw only 1 or 2 busted coverages that you're going to have when you're playing a bunch of high school seniors.
Yeah.
Because that while Auburn is as talented as they come, that's what they're playing, basically. I know Stretch reclassified so that he could play, but no, you're talking about a young. We should be getting ready for prom kind of basketball team. But even at that point, they still this week beat the 12th ranked Missouri Tigers in a very good Quanzo Martin team. And then just didn't, I won't say push Baylor at all, but they didn't get blown out either on the road.
No, and that same Mizzou teams put up 102 today, by the way.
Yeah.
Now, they had to survive TCU.
Yeah, they did. Because that was in overtime, wasn't it?
Yeah, 102-98 was the final over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. And Mizzou sees Bama next Saturday in Columbia. And that's one when you start going, that might be Bama's first loss in the conference. Bama got taken down by OU today, but Oklahoma's not terrible.
Thank you, Parlay. Sooners on the money line.
You are not the only one who I've seen with the parlay for the Sooners today as well. I just received a text not only moments ago showing me a winning play with the Sooners in there.
Nice. Well played.
Yeah. Good friend of ours who made that one.
Very nice.
So, yeah, I think that, the win against Mizzou, certainly something you can build on as you look forward for Auburn, out of this Big 12 SEC challenge. Where do the Tigers go from here in the rest of the SEC schedule? You got what you think is a win coming up midweek. And honestly, I think you're coming to a stretch where Auburn could rip off 5-6 in a row. You're not wrong. Home versus Ole Miss, at Vandy, at UK, home versus Mississippi State, at LSU.
That's where the schedule kicks up.
None of those should scare you if you're an Auburn fan.
The LSU game kind of gives me pause. But I'd have to go back and look at the history, folks. I don't know if there's ever been a time where I've been, we can go up and win it rough.
Oh yeah.
And not because we're lights out good. But just because Kentucky is that dang bad.
Mm-hmm.
Oof, gosh, that's a bad basketball team. I literally forgot that Mississippi State had a basketball team until I looked at the schedule because I've heard that much about them.
But remember, they're one of the only teams to beat Mizzou in conference this year.
That's true.
They hung a loss on Mizzou.
But no, right after that Tuesday game at home against Mississippi State, that's where the schedule kind of kicks up for me. I know LSU is 5-3 ish. I know that they just got the doors blown off of them by Alabama. I'm not exactly sure of their schedule or their record or anything like that. But those last 4 games, LSU, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama,
sure,
that is a murderer's row to close the season.
But again, we talked about a few weeks ago, Auburn started 0-4 in the conference.
Sure.
First 3 without Sharif Cooper.
Yeah.
And I said I thought they could get to 10 wins in the conference despite that.
Yeah.
They're 4-5 right now.
Yeah.
with Georgia, Ole Miss, Vandy, Kentucky, Mississippi State coming up. If you rip off 4 of those, you're now talking 8-6 going into your final 4 stretch.
Yeah.
It's not out of the question.
It's completely doable, especially that you're playing Florida and Tennessee at home. You're getting 2 of those at home. LSU looks shaky at best right now.
The Bama game is going to be the Super Bowl because there's nothing after it.
Yeah. No, you're going to put everything into it.
And Bama's got stuff to play for afterwards.
Exactly. So you could be the stick of dynamite into their season. I mean, I could see it. I don't know which is tougher, winning at Bryant-Denny or winning at Coleman Coliseum if you're Auburn. But I mean, it takes a Herculean effort where you're better than the Zebras and the team in white when you play at Coleman, and especially this year because I hate to say it, but
they're good.
They're good, one, and also the SEC wants to try to see if somebody can get a 1 seed, and Bama's probably your best hope. Probably a 2 after today.
They weren't even in discussion for a 1 yet.
But if they were able to beat Oklahoma and run some
we have to ground ourselves in this when we talk about seeding for other teams. The SEC is bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad this year.
Yeah.
Tennessee's 18th in the country, and they're not that great. I'm just telling you right now, they're not that great. That's why the LSU and Florida games towards the end of the schedule, I'm like, I think we have more talent on the floor than both of them.
You could convince me of that.
Yeah. So I still think 10-8 is the final conference record for Auburn.
Okay.
And I think that's a success.
Yes.
First 3 games of the conference schedule without Sharif. You lose the first one with him, but it's Bama, who's the best team in the conference right now. And if you can come out 0-4 and get to 10-8, that means you went 10-4 in the final 14.
Think about this. Powell and Cooper have not played a game together.
Yeah, we're still missing our best shooter. We're missing our best pure shooter.
So a 10-8 conference record, which would I'm not even sure of. What would that make you overall? Just if you have the math together, because I don't have it.
Well, let me count how many games we have left, because now I got to do other math. I don't 6 and that's 6 and 3 the rest of the way, is what that would cost.
About 16
and 9.
Yeah, 16 and 9
with a loss to the number 1 and loss to the number 2 team in the country.
Yeah, both away from home.
Correct.
Not bad. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, and actually, that would be a resume that would give you consideration for the tournament if you were eligible. You would have consideration.
I think if Auburn pulled that off, they would be a higher seed, like a 10.
You might be looking at a play-in game, but you would be in consideration.
But if you tell me that I have nobody that can drink alcohol on that team, which is what I'm looking at,
yeah,
I'm not upset about that.
Yeah, that's
not
a
upset
good point.
at all. Not upset at all.
That's a good point. All right, so we're going to transition, folks. We have a special guest this week, and Mr. Nick Redfoot, who is taking his time to join us once again. If you remember from earlier in the year, beginning of football season, we brought him on to talk about an SEC preview. We did a special SEC preview only episode. This week, we're going to bring him back on as we have transitioned the focus of this show to an Auburn-focused show. And he is one of the deepest knowledgeable folks when it comes to Auburn recruiting and what's going on the backside than you'll ever find out there. A wealth of knowledge. And so we're going to bring him on to talk Auburn recruiting under the new head coach, Bryan Harsin, and his staff. What are the moves being made right before the second signing day, or, the original national signing day, I guess you want to call it.
Traditional.
Yeah, we're not It used to be the day you would take off on Wednesday. We called it recruitness, and now you don't even care anymore.
I'll tell you this. I actually went on to record stuff because I'm a weirdo and like to have a bunch of video. Nobody's doing anything.
No.
SEC Now is going to be on to just kind of go over stuff, but.
Well, and it's important to know, most of the class for most big schools is done. They got done in December. Auburn's in a weird situation this year because of the coaching change. A lot of recruits didn't sign or didn't commit last minute, said, hey, I'm going to wait it out. plus with the transfer portal and other coaches getting fired around the world, there's a lot of balls in the air for Auburn and potentially immediate help and also help coming down the road. So we're going to talk about what they're prioritizing, not only for the recruiting class coming up, we're going to talk with them about the recruiting class that's being laid down for next year as well, and who Coach Harsin and the staff has begun to reach out to, not only in the South, but around the country, because he is starting to recruit around the country as well, and really dive deep into that. So stick around. We'll be right back with Nick, and we hope you enjoy the conversation. Welcome back as we get set to talk with our friend Nick Redfoot from College and Magnolia. You know him better as AUNerd out there at College and Magnolia, also on Twitter where you can follow him at AUNerd. And we're going to get deep into college or Auburn recruiting with him. Nobody really more plugged in on that scene than Nick. So Nick, welcome in. It is good to see you again. Last time we talked to you was right before the SEC season, and now you got the quarantine beard fully filled out. Shagginess is there. You're ready to go. Deep
Loving
into
I mean, I feel like if you spend a lot of time reading and writing about 18-year-old decisions, it's important to really embrace that. And so, I haven't left my house in months. I've got the beard out, and I'm ready to go.
That's quality. All right, so let's get started. First, before we talk about recruiting, I saved a question for both of you that I was thinking about. And it goes into, we haven't had a chance to talk to you about the Bryan Harsin hire. So I'd like to get your thoughts there after I ask you this question, which is the SEC's football schedule finally came out. We got to look into next year. Is Bryan Harsin an automatic Auburn legend if he wins his first ever SEC game, considering it's on the road in Baton Rouge?
I don't think legend, but I do. Legend's a bit of a stretch, but I do think he'd win a ton of goodwill for about a week. Until he plays
Georgia's the next week.
Yep. He's not wrong.
I'm sorry. I just couldn't help it. I'm like, he gets a first crack at LSU, first game ever on the road.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The last guy to win in Baton Rouge that was an Auburn coach is now a U.S. Senator. That's a true statement.
So you're telling me he's heading to the Senate in 20 years. Okay.
Just saying. Just
there you go. All right. I do want to get your thoughts before we get into recruiting about Coach Harsin, your thoughts on the hire, Nick, and how he's been able to hit the ground with the staff he's put together and what you think that staff looks like from a recruiting perspective.
Yeah, I think first, like everybody else, did not see that one coming. I mean, I was following along all of the different leaks that were going on. And, I honestly thought it was going to be Napier when all that stuff was coming out. It made a lot of sense. I was excited somewhat for it, but I was also very concerned because I was like, here we go. We're going down the chase the process by trying to go get, the next Saban from a Saban assistant. So when Harsin came out, I was actually shocked, but I like the move. I think it's important. It's very different from Auburn, which I actually think is a good thing. Shake it up, try something new, but he's a proven winner. And I think that's the big thing is a lot of the troubles and struggles Auburn had with Gus was he had never, he was learning how to build and run a program on the fly. He never had a mentor of someone that he looked up to. I mean, he was in a dysfunctional, his first year in college was with Houston Nutt at Arkansas, and there's this crazy dysfunction. There was never any model there. While Harsin spent time under Chris Peterson, he worked under Mac Brown, and then he's had a wealth of 6-7 years of being a head coach himself. So I'm optimistic. I think staff-wise, offensively, people can feel how they want to feel about Mike Bobo in terms of offensive play caller, but he is an excellent, excellent recruiter in the state of Georgia. Will Friend is an excellent offensive line recruiter, something that Auburn needs. And I'm high on the potential for Cornelius Williams out of Troy. He's got a lot of buzz about him. Defensively, I like the group from being able to coach at a high level. We got 3 former DCs, 3 former successful defensive coordinators. I'm very interested to see how they do on the trail. I think I was actually more concerned when Tracy Rocker was in that defensive line than I am now with Nick Easton. Even though Easton has never coached, he's got such a dynamic personality, and I think he'll do well. So, yeah, I'm like any coaching change, you're always optimistic. I'm happy to see that Auburn try to shake things up, do something differently. Overall, I think the staff's solid. Now it's time to go get those recruits. Go get those recruits.
All right. So as you mentioned, defensive recruiting. Let's start right there because right as news broke here, just before we started recording, and that is the first commitment of the Bryan Harsin era comes in, and it's from a Northwestern defensive end, Iku Leota. He's got 3 years to play. He was a at least 2 years to play. He was a redshirt sophomore for the Wildcats last year. Appeared in 8 games, had 1 start, 13 tackles. He got a chance to see Auburn up close in the bowl game and said, "Oh hell, I can start for that team." Yeah. So transferred down here. Initial thoughts? I know you probably had a whole lot of time to dig into Iku there, but what are your thoughts there?
Well, I think he checks a lot of the boxes of what Auburn needs on that side in terms of pass rush has been a problem. He's a pass rush specialist. So the problem he had at Northwestern is that he was kind of out of position. They run a lot of 4-3, a lot of 4-man fronts. This guy's more of an outside linebacker. He really fits in Harsin's system. They call it the stud, but it was the buck, whatever you want, jack linebacker, but a pass rushing edge player who'll come in and worst case scenario, he's Derek Hall's backup. The best case is that he can kind of push Hall and even win the job. Yeah, he's got 3 years of eligibility because 2020 didn't count. He graduated Northwestern in 3 years, so he's immediately eligible. Very smart guy. Got a lot of good tools. They're bummed to lose him. Northwestern was very upset to lose him because they felt like he's got a lot of potential to develop as a pass rusher. So I think it's exciting. It's kind of funny that the first commitment he's going to get is a graduate transfer from the team that whooped Auburn in a bowl game, but that's how it goes. It's a solid pickup, and the fact that you're going to get 3 years out of him is big because in a lot of ways you just picked up a 4-star pass rushing prospect.
Should we read into anything with Iku committing now? Should we read anything with the Dylan Brooks situation? I know that he signed in the early session with Tennessee, but since that dumpster fire finally hit the gas can that was in the bottom of that dumpster, he's asked to be let go of his letter of intent. Should we read into that with this commitment?
I don't think so. I think the plan all along was they were going to get someone from the portal period to try to inject. And the truth is with Dylan Brooks, I could be wrong on this, but the truth is with Dylan Brooks, I don't think he's a day one step on the field, help you as a pass rusher off the edge. I still think he ends up at Auburn, but they needed someone that could come help push Derek. Because right now they only have 2 guys on the roster that really, with TD Moultrie moving over and Big Cat being up in the air, and even if Big Cat came back, he doesn't really fit the mold of an edge rusher. He's really more of a strong side end. So they only had 2 guys in Derek Hall and Romello Heights. So you needed to add 2 bodies. So getting a guy with 3 years from the portal, and then you can, I suspect, barring any sort of crazy, massive McDonald's bag that Tennessee can come up with.
I'm sorry, we're a Chick-fil-A bag school, sir.
End up. Yeah. I think he'll end up at Auburn. So I don't think my suspicion is they wanted 2 all along at that spot.
So Auburn signed 11 players in the early period. Mid 40s, I think, is the recruiting ranking, which is the lowest Auburn's been in forever. 13 scholarships are available. What do you foresee over the upcoming signing day and then beyond signing day with the transfer portal?
Yeah. So I think first things first, I think Auburn fans need to go in next week with the proper expectations. This is not, when Gus Malzahn's first year or Gene Chiswick's first year, when there was no early signing period, there was not a pandemic, there was official visits you could have. There's like a handful of 4-star prospects left that's even can sign. So any Auburn fans that are expecting to go into next week and say, why isn't what are we doing with all these 3-stars? Well, they're trying to make the best of what they've got. So I think next week the goal is going to sign 5 to 7, depending on where things go in terms of prep prospects. Most of those guys are going to be 3-star guys that we're going to see how the staff does his evaluations, pegging in on guys. And then after that, I think you're going to see Auburn definitely hit the portal for an offensive tackle or 2. I'm surprised they haven't already, but there's a lot of I don't know if the numbers bear this out, but guys that know more than me have said repeatedly that a lot of the better offensive tackles hit the portal after spring. So I think you'll see Auburn there. You're going to see Auburn try to get a running back to add with Tank. It's just really hard to sell a kid to transfer into Auburn for your last season as a graduate transfer to be Tank's Robin. So I think they're going to try to get someone, and it wouldn't shock me if they try to get a quarterback too. Not to bench Bo, but to bring in a veteran guy to push Bo and have a backup in case things don't go well. So that's kind of how things I see playing out over here.
You mentioned running back. Do you foresee Sean Shivers potentially leaving the program?
I don't at this point. I mean, I think you never know after spring, something could change. But I feel like since his freshman year, it's always been rumored that he's going to transfer. But he's still here. And I think with everyone else leaving, I think he'll stick around. But it still could happen. But even with that, they need an impact player there immediately. The good news is on the other front, they're going to sign a kid next week, Jarquez Hunter out of Mississippi. Low rating. You look at his offer list, you're not sure about, but you pull up the tape, and he's a great fit for a lot of Harsin's offense. Harsin and Bobo run a lot of zone concepts, a lot of inside zone, outside zone. This is a 5'11", 6 foot, 210 pound back with great lateral mobility. He's not got a lot of top end speed. He's not going to probably break a lot of 80-yard runs, but if he's got enough explosiveness, he's a guy that can go in there and, bust through the line and get you 8 to 10 yards. And he's kind of a perfect number 2 guy for down the road. So they'll definitely be adding one running back next week to the class, but I still expect they'll try to get someone from the portal if they can convince anyone to come sit behind Tank.
One of the spots that I always like to watch, just in my recruiting, following recruiting, and to be honest, I kind of hate that the early signing day has taken away from the national holiday that was February, the first Wednesday in February. But one of the ones that I have always watched with Auburn, and it sort of trends along with how Auburn is doing as a team, is the linebackers. And I know that that's going to be the spot where Auburn fans kind of watch, just with how the coaching staff was filled out. Yes. What Auburn needs at that spot, because I think that Auburn needs probably 1 or 2 from that spot. Are we looking to see Auburn pull in one of the 3 big name transfers that are out there, or is there somebody that I'm just not seeing yet?
So I think they'll take a swing at him. I think Auburn is in contact with them. I don't see Henry I don't know. It's like Toto. There you go. From Tennessee. I think he's already listed like Final Four, something like Oregon and Alabama. And all of the other ones. I think Mike Jones from Clemson is one to watch if they're able to get one. I agree completely. The Auburn fans, especially the 2022 class, I think no coach is under more pressure out the gate than Jeff Schmedding, who's taken over Travis's room and taking over him for recruiting, because they didn't keep Travis. They are going to most likely lose out on kind of the one blue chip they had a shot at, which was Trevin Wallace, who 247 actually moved to the number 35 overall player in the country recently. Big time linebacker out of Georgia. I think that's a little too high. I like Trevin Wallace. I don't think he's a borderline 5-star, but I do think he's a top 100 player. He's probably going to end up at Kentucky now, or if Travis Williams takes a job at Miami, it wouldn't shock me if he goes there. This was a kid that was committing to Travis Williams and not Auburn, which, in my opinion, on a completely different subject, might be a reason why he's not on the staff anymore for Harsin. That Harsin's kind of looking for a different, better or worse, we'll see. But there are 2 linebacker names to pay attention to that could sign. I think the big one is going to be Joko Willis. He's the number 2 inside linebacker, JUCO inside linebacker. He played at Troup County with Kobe Hudson 2 years ago. Reminds me a lot of, now he's nowhere near the same athleticism, but he reminds me of Owen Pappo somewhat in terms of his kind of ability to play outside of the box. He's 6'3", 215, so he's bigger, and he could actually probably grow into more of an inside backer than Pappo. But he's a solid player who's committed to Kentucky. But now that they're getting Trevin Wallace, they kind of separated with him, and now Auburn's going to go get him. Which, funny enough, the team that was believed to be the leader for him has been South Carolina. So sorry again, Shane.
Sorry.
He hasn't got an offer yet, but I think he's going to get one, and I think he'll pounce on it. The other guy I'm paying attention to is Michael Mincy. He's a currently committed to Vanderbilt. He committed to Vanderbilt when Derek Mason was there. 15 years ago, this kid was probably a top 100 player, 6'2", 210 pounds. Keep him in the box. You know, if you're running power football at him, he's ready for it. Problem is, I don't know if he's got the speed or ability to play sideline to sideline in today's game, which is why he's not being recruited at the level or is rated as high. But he's a solid player. Reminds me a lot of kind of Deshaun Davis type of player, where if you can keep him in the box and let him play the run game, he'll do fine. I don't know if Auburn's going to offer him, but he's kind of the other name to pay attention to on the linebacker front.
Tell me about the guys that did sign in December, and who are the guys that could come in and make an immediate impact for Auburn? I think, obviously quarterback takes the big play there, but Bo Nix is pretty much settled in as Auburn's starting quarterback next year. I'm pretty sure we'll all agree there. Who is going to come in and be that guy who could see the field from day one or maybe even game 4 or 5?
Yeah. So, I think there's a handful of guys to keep an eye on. Wide receiver is going to be interesting because it's so young. There's a lot of talent there, but there's not a lot of proven talent. Plus, you have a new coaching staff. Hal Presley out of Texas, who signed with Auburn during the early period. I think he's a really, really good player. 247 finally bumped him to a 4-star recently. A lot of Seth Williams to his game. Now, I don't see him being Seth Williams, but that type of player excels at the 50-50 jump ball. I think he might actually have a little more speed than Seth at the top end. He's probably not as good of a jump ball guy as Seth, but that type of skill set that I think he could see some time. And I think Auburn commit Tavares Dawson, who is expected to sign with Auburn next week. Texas A&M's coming hard, but I think Auburn's going to hang on to him. He reminds me a lot of Boise State's leading receiver these last 2 years, Khalil Shakir. Kind of a smaller guy, fits that in the flanker position and Harsin's system, where he's put up ridiculous stats. He has something like 7 interceptions on defense, and he had like 6 rushing touchdowns, 6 receiving. So like, he's just a football player. So I think wide receiver positions to pay attention to for early impact. Defensive line, definitely. Lee Hunter is Auburn's highest ranked signee. I actually think the coaching change is perfect for him because I don't think he is a Derek Brown force of put him at the 3 tech and tell him to go feast. I actually think he can excel as a nose tackle. He's a big boy, 6'5", 320, 315, can eat space. My comp for him is he reminds me a lot of Daron Payne coming out of high school from Alabama, which is just this big kid that you're like, okay, if he can ever get all those tools together, which he finally did, he's got a chance to be a first-round draft pick. And I think Lee Hunter's like that too, especially if Tyrone Truesdale doesn't come back. Like, I think Hunter's a guy that you can get in, and he's an early enrollee. I do think Demetrius Davis is an important part of this. I don't think he's going to take Bo's job, but if you can have a quarterback that you trust sitting behind Bo, you might be more willing to let Bo run the ball. Demetrius Davis is an incredibly accurate quarterback. A lot of times when you see guys listed as dual threats, it usually means they're a really good athlete that throws the ball better than others, but you look at their completion percentages and it'll be like 50% or whether. This kid completed 70% of his passes this year against the best competition in Texas.
Yeah.
Highly intelligent, very mobile. So yeah, I think those are some of the names to pay attention to. And then, in the secondary, I think there's a very good chance you see someone like Amari Harvey find a role early at safety. Auburn took him literally from Florida State. He attended, I think it's like Florida State University High School or something. They have Florida State's like their whole
You're not
uniform.
Wrong.
I think he's a great fit. He probably fits in behind Smoke at free safety, but I think he's a guy that could see action early, a ball hawk back there. So those are some of the names I'm kind of going to see if they can get on the field immediately.
Nick, one of the things that I've kind of noticed, and I know you've noticed it too, just in our conversations, is the amount of, and I don't know if I'm going to find the right word before I need to say it, but the amount of zero leaks that Bryan Harsin has in his staff or coming out of his staff. Do you expect, and this is basically just throwing a dart into the darkness, do you expect any flips out of nowhere on Wednesday? Auburn's known for kind of doing this random. Is there anybody that you could go, I mean, yeah, I guess that guy, but again, is there anybody out there that maybe you should have on your radar just because?
In terms of like a flashy flip, not really, and simply because they're all signed. Like I think it's hard to pull off. Now there was a name that I had ready, but it's kind of leaked out now of a guy that I knew that Auburn was kind of the whole defensive staff's following this kid. So I was like, all right, this is someone to pay attention to, which is Caden Bridges out of McGee, Mississippi. He doesn't even have a rating on 247 composite. 2 weeks ago, he had 2 offers. It was like Central Arkansas and someone else. Kane Womack, who just took the job at South Alabama, a really well-respected defensive mind who was coaching in Indiana, found this kid, offered him, got him committed. He's currently committed to South Alabama. Auburn has found him. They've offered him. Now Mississippi State's offered him, and now he's getting attention from some other places like Florida State. Definitely a kid to pay attention to down the stretch. Kind of a name that's kind of popped out of nowhere. If there's a position where a surprise could come out, I think running back is one, because I do think Auburn I could see Auburn taking 2 prep running backs, and kind of the guy I was paying attention to is an in-state kid named Jalen White, but from Dothan, Alabama. But there's been nothing in terms of any sort of attention paid to him, so it wouldn't shock me if a running back popped out of nowhere. I think if there's any kind of super surprises, it's not going to be sort of like, a lot of people are going to be like, who? Like it'll be like an evaluation guy that they found late that they want to take a chance on. The big one surprise would be if they were able to get Trevin Wallace to actually come back towards Auburn. That would probably be the big flashy thing.
What's in the early going here? Coach Harsin's first 6 weeks on the job. What's your evaluation of what he's prioritizing in recruiting? And the culture that he's trying to prioritize with his staff for recruiting.
Yeah.
And how is that different from Gus?
Well, I think first of all, you're going to see Auburn legitimately recruit nationwide. Auburn offered kids out in the West Coast, but they didn't pay attention to most of these guys unless it was a JUCO. Already, you're seeing Auburn do that. There's a kid in the 2022 class from Nevada who's a pass rusher that I think Auburn's got a great chance at, that they're hard after. Like there's a lot of relationships they've built out already there, so I think you're going to see that standpoint. Offensive tackle, like they're spamming offensive tackle offers. Wolfren's going to get some off tackles, but I think as a group, I would describe Harsin as methodical so far. Like I think he started a bit slower than I expected in terms of recruiting, but I think that's more because there's a lot being invested off the field in terms of building out a legitimate recruiting operation. In terms of, I don't think people realize what's needed to truly recruit nationally and to truly recruit at a high level to where where these kids are and who to go to and how to recruit them. I think Gus Malzahn's greatest failures as a head coach was in his recruiting is one, his board was too small. He swung for the fences. Like it wasn't like Gus was just trying to recruit scrubs. The problem is he'd strike out on the top 5 offensive tackles and they would just sign nothing and choose to go to the portal. I think that's type of stuff you're going to see change. It's so early that it's still really hard to evaluate. And I think this is an important takeaway for next week because people are totally going to do this, but you're not going to be able to evaluate Bryan Harsin as a recruiter based off this signing day, good or bad. If he flips Trevin Wallace back or he nails everyone, doesn't mean he's going to kill it because he's not recruiting against Alabama, LSU, Clemson, or any of those guys right now for those players. But if he misses, if Trevin Wallace goes to Kentucky, if Dante Balfour goes to North Carolina, if some of these kids choose South Carolina, doesn't mean he sucks either. Like he's just now building relationships and having to do stuff in a quick period. So I think you're going to see a more an operation built out at Auburn that is more aligned with what you see at places like Oregon and Alabama and LSU than with Gus, which was way smaller of a group and it was way more intensely focused, especially in offense. Gus was hands in everything. You're going to see more trust in the assistants. You're going to see bigger boards and you're going to see Auburn go to more places, in my opinion.
So to piggyback on this, and this will be my last question, I actually asked my dad, who I learned all my recruiting stuff from, if he had any questions that he wanted answered. And his first one was, as he gets older and his football seasons are coming down, as he likes to remind me, will Auburn ever sign another 5-star player? And how long will that take? And I asked that because that's my lead into the 2022 season, because I don't think it's going to take Bryan Harsin very long to get that 5-star.
Can I hit pause real quick to say how hilarious it is that we're talking about will Auburn football sign a 5-star, but Auburn basketball, we're not even worried about it because we got multiples coming. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be super long. You know, the 2022 class is going to be interesting, especially with still visits being pushed. I think it's been pushed to June now, and it's really going to hurt Auburn and this new staff, because at least with Gus, he had built some relationships with some of these kids. He's going to do it all over Zoom. The big class I'm paying attention to down the road will be 2023, because I do think that's when you'll get a full picture. Okay, can this guy hang with it? But I'm very optimistic. You know, I think I'd be shocked if Auburn's not back in the top 10 in the 2022 class. As for 5-star, it's so early. It's so hard to know. Some of these rankings, Lee Hunter was a 5-star this time last year, and now he's the 120th player or something. Yeah. But I think they're coming soon. And also, let's all be real. Take Bigsby was a 5-star.
Yeah.
You know, he just lost his ranking because he came to the wrong school. But no, I'm optimistic that you're going to see some improved recruiting and see a little more flash on signing day than maybe what we've seen recently.
Awesome. Well, Nick Redfoot, thanks for the time, man. We always do appreciate it when you come along and share your knowledge. Folks, you can always find more of what Nick is saying in depth at College and Magnolia. Just look for the articles written by AUNerd. Follow him on Twitter, too. I do. I get tons of information at AUNerd as well. And always remember, people, when it comes to recruiting, there is one key rule. Don't tweet at recruits.
No, don't do it.
You're adults. Be better. Nick, thanks so much, man.
Thank y'all for having me.
So that'll wrap up this week's episode of the Friends of the Program podcast. I want to thank our friend Nick Redfoot once again for joining us, going deep on the recruiting trail with myself and Drew. Next week, we'll look to have a guest for you guys to preview Auburn baseball, because that is coming up. It is almost baseball season for Drew and I. It's Holy Land season. But yeah, it's coming up. So we'll try to get you a preview of Auburn baseball. That's going to be one of those conversations I'm just going to steer and let Drew and whoever our guest is go to town, because you talk about guys who know deep. It is them. I love it. I watch it. I can talk baseball all day long, particularly in game and strategies and things like that. But as far as like what's going on every single day on the back end at the program, you're not going to find much better than my co-host right here. So we'll go there and try to have a guest for that and get in touch. Because remember, the last time we had a full season of Auburn baseball, it ended in Omaha. Looking to try that one more time. Drew, any last thoughts today?
Just looking forward to this upcoming week. Auburn with 2 home games against Georgia and Ole Miss. Signing day. Nick has already primed us for everything that we need to be looking out for. So a busy week across campus and across the SEC, but no, just fired up as we get into the busy time of year.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, that'll wrap it up for this week. For Drew McCracken, I'm Brad Tillery. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. Remember, you can always follow us on Twitter at FOT Podcast. Same on Instagram at FOT Podcast. Search us via YouTube at Friends of the Program, and also on your favorite audio link, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, Google's, whatever you like. Just find us, follow us, download us, listen to us while you're driving around. We'll talk to you again next week. Take care, everybody. War Eagle.
War Eagle.